Thank you very much. Thank you everybody. I don't have words to show my appreciation. I'm crying inside. दिख नहीं सकता है emotions, but it's all inside, choked up completely. Thank you for this. Thank you. God bless everybody. Thank you. But let me tell you, Bitcoin is not physical money. You can't add one Bitcoin for good luck to your nephew's gulak. You can't toss a Bitcoin to decide if India will bat first. It is digital money. If your rickshaw driver had accepted Bitcoin in 2011, then today he would be flying a private jet designed by Emporio Armani, which would probably still not be allowed to go beyond Bandra. But between you and me, I prefer aeroplanes on the road than rickshaws on the road, but that's a separate show altogether. Welcome to episode 2 of CoinSwitch. Now guys, in the last episode, we discussed the entire philosophy of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, which is to remove the middleman. Satoshi Nakamoto, the great man, the inventor of Bitcoin, came up with the idea of a decentralized network. Now, all the participants worked together to eliminate the need for a middleman. That was it. Before we get to how they do that, let's see what the role of a middleman in a traditional financial situation is. Imagine a residential society, Broacha Nagar, और यहाँ instead of normal money, everyone transacts not in cash but in these fictional digital Broacha coins. ये कॉलोनी का सारा transactions buildings का secretary maintain करता है, whose name is the quintessential कमलेश भाई. वो ऐसा दिखता है, from one eye. Anyway, Geeta aunty ने सुनीता बाई को लोन दिया, तो कमलेश भाई will record it. Geeta gives Sunita bai 1,000 brochas. Geeta has 4,000 balance now. Sunita bai has 1,000 brochas. Chopra साहब ने डॉक्टर गुप्ता को 200 brocha fees दिया. श्वेता आंटी ने 100 थेपले बनाए. गंगूबाई ने ले लिया at 5 brochas per thepla and so on. So you see, Kamlesh Bhai keeps all the records. He verifies the transactions. He makes sure balances are accurate and nobody spends more than they have. Basically, everything is dependent on कमलेश भाई. One day people realize कि कमलेश भाई स्कूल में मैथमेटिक्स में 4 बार फेल हो चुके हैं. And when they check the books, they realize कि सब गड़बड़ है. So they decide to get rid of him and take matters into their own hands. Now what they do is, जब भी कोई transaction होता है, the spender shouts out his transaction to everyone in the building. For example, Geeta aunty can't come to the window and yell,
मैंने सुनीता बाई को 1 लाख ब्रोचा लोन दिया.
Immediately everyone will check their records and reject the transaction and say what's happened to her voice. Geeta aunty, please, आपके पास सिर्फ 2 brocha balance है. Get your facts right. Even if she appeals to Kamlesh Bhai, Kamlesh, please give me more brochas. Kamlesh Bhai can't do anything because he has no power in this system. Geeta, listen. Now, when we implement this system at a global scale, there's one issue. When the nodes are listening to several thousand transactions every minute, the records won't match. किसी के केस में चुलबुल का transaction will be before bulbul, किसी में bulbul will be before chulbul, and when 2 nodes will compare their books, it won't match, and there will be gulgul. इसका solution भी the great Satoshi Nakamoto, old for the music, ने provide किया था. And this is where blockchain technology and mining come into the picture. The idea is, we can't control the number of transactions in the network, but maybe in a clever way, we can control how they are recorded in each ledger. So instead of every node recording every transaction as they come in every second, why not at regular intervals, we record a batch of transactions. These batches of transactions are called blocks, and the ledger formed by adding more and more blocks of transactions on top of each other is called blockchain. Now, every node will compare the order of blocks rather than the order of each individual transaction. And because batching transactions in a block slows down the data entry process, all nodes have more time to agree with each other on the order of these blocks. So now let's understand who creates the blocks. The whole point of Bitcoin was to eliminate the middleman. So it doesn't make sense to have one person that's creating the blocks and sending it to all the nodes.
नहीं तो कमलेश भाई को हटाने का कोई मतलब नहीं हुआ.
तो ये केस में the nodes in the network themselves volunteer to create the next block. These special nodes are called miners, and one is chosen roughly every 10 minutes. 10 minutes is for the Bitcoin ka blockchain. Every crypto blockchain has its own block time. So how is the miner chosen? Basically, all of them play a game of chance. Imagine समुंदर में 100 मछुआरे हैं और एक मछली. जो सबसे पहले वो मछली पकड़ेगा, वो next block बनाएगा. Very simple. Miners use their computers to solve a cryptographic equation by guessing random numbers. It's a really complicated equation and they guess like millions of numbers every second. Now the first miner to solve it gets to mine the next block of the Bitcoin blockchain. And this game of chance is called proof of work. प्रूफ कि मैंने इतना काम किया, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यूज किया, कंप्यूटर खरीदा, नेट का पैसा डाला, गाड़ी का पार्किंग मिला, मम्मी को हेलो बोला, डॉगी को वॉक किया, टू डिजर्व द ऑनर ऑफ एडिंग द नेक्स्ट ब्लॉक. But miner इतना मेहनत क्यों करेगा? Because in addition to adding the next block, the winning miner also gets a few bitcoins in reward. Stop. Before you run away to start mining Bitcoin, please let me tell you, mining is a very expensive process. Proof of work gives everyone a fair chance at mining Bitcoin. But there's one thing you can do to increase your advantage. Come closer, I'll tell you. Secret. By getting a more powerful computer, you can guess more numbers per second and have higher chances of catching the fish. मतलब अगर एक बड़ा नेट लगाया तो मछली आने के चांस ज्यादा होगा. वैसे ही, big net, more fish. Early days of Bitcoin में people could mine Bitcoin from their computers. But Satoshi का genius coding say the equation becomes tougher every time people start solving it faster. This is done to maintain an average of 10 minutes per block. Just testing whether you're listening by talking faster. So people got more powerful machines or equation और tough होता गया. It reminds me of my equation with my mother-in-law. जितना मेहनत करो उतना कम है. Such a sweet person. Very sweet. Still calls me Raju even that's not my name. Nowadays, there are special computers made only for mining, and there are mining factories with tens of thousands of such computers close to a power plant for cheap electricity. Safe to say, आम आदमी के लिए mining is not the gig. So, to summarize, Bitcoin is a decentralized network jahan instead of one central point maintaining, verifying and updating the account books, the process is done by all the participants. To make all the books match with each other, transactions are recorded in batches called blocks instead of recording every single transaction. The series of blocks is called a blockchain. Blocks are added by miners, which are nodes in the network, and they compete with each other at a guessing game called proof of work. The winner puts the next block and gets rewarded in new bitcoins. Simple सी बात है. Scarcity. We discussed the scarcity aspect of Bitcoin in our last episode. Currently, there's about 18.5 billion BTC in circulation, and every 10 minutes, some Bitcoin is added when a block is created or mined. But there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. 2 crore 10 lakh. मतलब अगर every Mumbaiker wants to own one whole BTC, तो probably there's not enough. Maybe अगर चेंबूर निकाल दिया तो शायद, or if you remove Malad West and Kandivali East. So this scarcity is why Bitcoin is so valuable. 21 million, that's the hard cap. जो miners को Bitcoin reward मिल रहा है, that is reduced by half every 4 years. And by 2140 AD, roughly around my 169th birthday, when I'll be eating gluten-free cake through a straw, the last Bitcoin will be mined. Music. अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि माइनर्स माइन क्यों करेंगे अगर रिवॉर्ड्स ही नहीं मिलेगा? The belief is that the transaction fees alone will be enough to incentivize the miners. Along with getting mining rewards, miners currently earn a small percentage of BTC from every single transaction. But as BTC grows in value, that small percentage will actually be valuable enough in the future. And they will have huge ships and planes, maybe own countries, maybe 2 countries. आपकी identity on the Bitcoin network is just a string of numbers and letters. 3J980-1WPEZ732-NMQVICRMRTPRS2TLNLY. नाम तो सुना ही होगा. I know what you're wondering. Who is that gorgeous man in that wonderful jacket? Well, he's not for sale. He's sort of happily married. Okay, this is basically your public key, like your account number or your email ID. When you want someone to send you Bitcoin, you give them your public key. There's also your private key. ये private part है, ये किसी को नहीं दिखाना. It's like your password. If you lose this, you lose all your assets. Guys, because blockchain is a public ledger, every transaction is public, but you're not identified by your name on the blockchain. You are identified by your public key. This gives you some measure of privacy. Also, unlike popular belief, crypto is actually not a favorable medium for illegal activities. For example, if you took 100 Bitcoin in ransom, the authorities can track the transaction on the blockchain when you try to sell it. It's so pointless to embezzle money through a blockchain that in 2020, less than 0.5% of illegal money was transacted through crypto. Bitcoin एक global network है. मतलब you can send your Bitcoin to anyone, anywhere in the world in a matter of minutes with a minimal cost of transaction. The largest Bitcoin transaction, get this till date, was in April 2020. $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin was sent from one address to another at a cost of just 68 cents. It makes no sense. It's almost nonsense. Traditional cross-border wealth transfers take days and cost a lot of money and paperwork and weight loss. Now let's talk about some of the shortcomings of Bitcoin. Both to nahi hai. It's a very quick topic, hardly a few seconds. All right, a Bitcoin block is created every 10 minutes और उसका एक size limit है 1 MB, which is enough to process about 2,700 transactions. That comes down to about 4.5 transactions per second. Compare that to a transaction expert like Visa or MasterCard, and they do more than 1,500 TPS. So, I'll put it this way, if TPS were an F1 race, Bitcoin generally shows up in a wheelchair. One disclaimer here is this limitation is only in the case of Bitcoin and not all the cryptocurrencies. There are several other cryptos that are way faster. Guys, decentralization is at the heart of every cryptocurrency. But as mining got more and more difficult and expensive, it got out of reach of normal nodes. Now, Bitcoin mining is mostly done in huge mining farms by a small group of people. In fact, before China banned crypto mining earlier this year, the majority of the miners were based in China. So your question is, why is this a problem? If more than 51% of miners in a blockchain start working together, they can compromise the blockchain by successfully adding fraudulent blocks if they want to. A blockchain needs majority consensus to be considered valid. The good news is, thanks to China's ban, the miners have migrated to other parts of the world and hence increasing Bitcoin's decentralization once again. So it's almost like this cause and this effect, and then that effect and this cause, this change and that change. I'll be Frank. No, I'll be Joe. No, I'll be Cyrus. Mining is expensive. The hardware is expensive. Electricity is expensive. In fact, Bitcoin mining consumes more electricity in a year than the country of Finland. Environmentalists are not happy about this. They're not happy about most things in life. But Bitcoin is one of their biggest sources of unhappiness. Unka कहना है, running the Bitcoin network is bad for the environment as it uses electricity produced by burning coal. It's definitely a valid point, I'll give you that. But the pro-Bitcoiners say that majority of Bitcoin mining is done with clean electricity produced from renewable sources. Also, unka कहना है कि the demand for electricity for mining is actually speeding up the process of renewable energy adoption. So, these are basically the two sides of the same Bitcoin. See how I did that? So that, it's like the googly, right-handed bowler. I got the ball to go away from the right-hander. You thought it was coming in? Went that way. That's the leg break. All right, guys, great news. I'm going to stop talking. But not so great news. After some time, I'm going to stop talking. This was episode 2, and I hope you somehow understand or manage to understand how Bitcoin and the blockchain technology that powers it work. And honestly, Bitcoin is only the first chapter of cryptocurrencies. It is the big daddy. It came first. But Bitcoin only scratches the surface of what the blockchain tech can do. And in the next few episodes, I believe 198 of them, we will discuss Ethereum and the other altcoins and how they are trying to improve upon what Bitcoin has already accomplished. I suggest you wear a helmet for the next one because your brains are going to be blown. I was hoping for a sound effect there. If it didn't happen, I look like an idiot. And remember, you can get started into the revolutionary world of cryptos in an instant. Just download CoinSwitch and acquire Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptos within seconds. It's not hard at all. Check this out. If only I could charge this phone on time. What? Yeah, that's all there is to it. One sec, I've got a phone call. I better take this. Who is that? Oh, Sanjay Leela Bansali. Baba, kitna baar bola, I'm not doing your film. I don't like the story. I don't like the story, yaar. What is this? A garib man grows up, kills a zamindar, and I'm pro-zamindar. I don't like the story. Change the story, I'll do it. Sanjay Leela Bansali always calls at the wrong time. Sorry, guys. I have to also earn money to invest in Bitcoin, so. Okay, I'll do an item number. Bas, compromise? ठीक है. Sweet guy.